The galaxy lived in quiet fear. Every world, every moon, every small colony believed in one truth. The sovereigns were gods, and no one could stand against them. For thousands of years, they ruled the stars with cold power. They did not speak to lesser species. They only commanded, and others obeyed. Their ships were huge dark shapes that moved like shadows across space. Their presence alone could silence whole planets. For ages, no one had dared to question them. No one had dared to fight back. The galaxy had forgotten the meaning of resistance. But everything changed on a silent night at the very edge of the galaxy. A strange signal appeared. It began as a small flicker on a distant listening station. At first, the workers thought it was a broken sensor, but then the signal grew stronger. It carried a rhythm, a pattern, a message from something unknown. The station master stared at the screen. Confused and scared, he whispered to himself, "This cannot be a sovereign call." Within minutes, the signal spread through the galaxy's communication networks. Scientists tried to decode it but failed. Priests of the sovereigns claimed it was a sign from the gods, but deep inside, many feared it was something else, something new, something dangerous. The Sovereign High Council gathered in their massive crystal hall. They studied the signal with cold, golden eyes. Their leader, known as the First Radiant, spoke in a voice that made the hall tremble. "Send a scout fleet," he commanded. "Find the source. Silence it." 3 fast sovereign ships left at once. They traveled through black space, following the unknown signal. At first, everything seemed normal, but then the stars around them dimmed. Strange trails of blue light appeared in the darkness, moving fast, cutting across the void. The sovereign crew whispered in fear as the trails grew brighter. Something was coming toward them, something they had never seen before. The ships finally saw the source. A human vessel glided out of the dark, its metal surface covered in scars, its engines glowing like fire. It was smaller than a sovereign ship, but it moved with a strange confidence. On its side was a single word, written in bold letters: humanity. The sovereign commander tried to contact the ship. There was no answer. He sent a second message, a warning, but the human vessel stayed silent. Suddenly, without any sign or threat, the small human ship fired. A beam of light cut across the scout fleet with impossible precision. One sovereign ship exploded at once. The other 2 tried to escape, but the human vessel chased them with shocking speed. The sovereign commander shouted orders, desperate to survive. No one had ever attacked the gods before. No one had ever dared. One ship managed to escape back to the nearest outpost. It crashed into the station, burning and broken. The crew was pulled out, trembling, their eyes wide with terror. Doctors tried to treat them, but the survivors kept whispering the same words, over and over again. "They are not gods," one of them cried. "They made us bleed," another gasped. "They made us run." When the Sovereign Council heard these words, silence filled the great hall. For the first time in thousands of years, the gods felt something they did not understand, something they had never known: fear. Because from the dark edge of the galaxy, something powerful had arrived, something that did not kneel, something that did not fear them, and the name of that something was humanity. The first defiance the Sovereign Council gathered again in their crystal hall, and their anger filled the air like fire. Their pride had been wounded, their ships had been destroyed, and their so-called godhood had been questioned. The First Radiant rose from his throne, his golden armor glowing with rage. "Find these humans," he commanded. "Crush them, erase them, show the galaxy that the gods cannot bleed." Across the galaxy, giant sovereign fleets prepared for war. Their ships were bigger, stronger, and more advanced than almost anything known. They believed the fight would be easy. They believed humans were only insects who got lucky once. They believed they would win before the galaxy even noticed, but they were wrong. Far away, in a quiet part of space, humanity had gathered. Their ships were smaller and fewer, but they moved with purpose and speed. The humans did not kneel. They did not wait. They did not fear. They prepared for war with calm determination. Their captains spoke through simple words: no surrender, no fear, stand strong. The first major battle began near a dead star. The sovereign fleet entered the system like a dark storm. Hundreds of ships formed a massive wall of metal and power. Their weapons glowed bright, ready to destroy anything in their path. A human scout ship appeared first, drifting quietly between asteroids. The sovereign commander laughed at the sight. "One small ship dares face us," he said with pride, but he spoke too soon. Suddenly, more human ships uncloaked around the system. not from fancy tech, but from simple, clever hiding tactics. They had painted their hulls to match the asteroid field. They had shut off engines to stay invisible in the cold dark. The sovereigns had expected a grand army, but instead they found human strategy, human unpredictability. The battle exploded at once. Human ships darted between asteroids like fast insects. Their movements were wild, unexpected, and confusing. Sovereign weapons missed again and again because humans never stopped moving. They faked retreats, then attacked from behind. They pretended to be destroyed, then came back to strike. They overloaded their own engines to boost speed for a single deadly second. The sovereigns had never seen such tactics. They were used to order, to control. Two predictable enemies. Humans were chaos, and chaos was winning. Two sovereign destroyers went down first. A third was hit by a human ship that rammed it deliberately. The explosion shook the entire battlefield. The sovereign commander stared at his screen, shocked and confused. "How can they fight like this?" he whispered. "They are only mortals." But the truth was clear. Humans did not fight like mortals. They fought like survivors. They fought like a species that had learned strength through pain. They fought as if every battle was their last chance to exist. The sovereign fleet retreated, something they had never done in thousands of years. Their commander shouted orders in panic. "Fall back, fall back. This is not a normal enemy. This is something else." When the battle ended, the humans stood victorious in the debris-filled space. Their ships were damaged, but their spirit was unbroken. They sent a single message into the galaxy, simple and clear. "We do not kneel." That message spread across worlds like fire. Species who lived under sovereign rule heard it and felt something new inside their hearts. Hope, but the sovereigns felt something different. Something they hated, fear mixed with anger. The first Radiant slammed his hand onto his throne, his voice shaking the hall. "These humans humiliate us," he roared. "Bring me their world. Burn it. Make the galaxy watch." The order was given. A massive fleet was prepared, bigger than anything used in ages. The sovereigns believed they would crush humanity completely. They believed humans would be erased from history. They believed they would win the next battle with ease. But they did not know the truth. Humanity had a secret. And the next time the gods came to destroy them, they would find nothing they expected. The fire that fought back the sovereign fleet moved through space like a dark wave. Thousands of ships, glowing with golden energy, heading toward one target, Earth. They believed they would destroy humanity in a single strike. They believed humans would scream, kneel, and break. They believed the galaxy would watch and remember who the real gods were. But when the fleet arrived, they found nothing. No cities, no defenses, no armies, no human world. The planet Earth was silent, empty, abandoned. Only dust, old ruins, and cold oceans remained. The sovereign commander stood inside his grand ship and stared at the lonely blue planet. "Where are the humans?" he whispered. His officers scanned the surface again and again, but the result was always the same. Earth was gone. Humanity had moved. Humanity had vanished into deep space. For the first time, the gods felt confused. For the first time, they realized they did not understand their enemy. Far away from Earth, humanity watched the fleet from hidden positions. The humans had left their home long ago. They had built new stations, hidden bases, and fast-moving ships that never stayed in one place. They lived in motion, in teamwork, in survival. They no longer needed a single planet. Their strength came from unity. Their strength came from movement. Their strength came from being impossible to catch. Human commanders spoke to their fleets in simple words. "We move, we strike, we survive." The sovereigns searched for human colonies, but every time they arrived, the colony was already empty. Every time they thought they trapped humanity, humans slipped away like smoke. And every time the gods thought they were safe, humans attacked. The first hit came on the edge of a red dwarf star. A small sovereign supply line was moving through a quiet system. Suddenly, human ships jumped in with blinding speed. They fired fast, sharp, precise shots. The supply ships exploded, one by one. Before the sovereigns could react, the humans were gone again, disappearing into the dark like ghosts. Another attack hit a sovereign temple station, the place where the galaxy came to pray. Humans disabled the shields in seconds. They destroyed the golden statues of the gods. The galaxy watched in shock. If the gods could not protect their own holy places, how could they protect anyone else? More species began to whisper. More species began to question. If humanity fought the gods and survived, maybe others could too. The sovereigns grew desperate. Their fleets spread out, trying to chase the rebels. But spreading out made them weak, and humans hunted the weak. Human engineers created new weapons using old technology that the sovereigns had banned long ago. Weapons that could disable enemy engines in seconds. Weapons that could blind their sensors. Weapons that turned the gods' ships into helpless metal. A small insect-like species called the Fari were the first to make contact. They sent a secret message to humanity. A shaking voice spoke through a small communicator. "If we help you, will you help us?" The human commander answered without hesitation. Yes. Soon, more species sent messages. The Ralux, the Tiff, the small stone-born tribes from the outer rim. One by one, they joined the human side. They brought small fleets, old weapons, and information about the sovereign's weaknesses. Together, they formed a hidden alliance, a growing fire inside the galaxy, a fire that spreads faster every day. The Sovereign Council felt the galaxy slipping from their hands. They had ruled for thousands of years without fear, but now, everywhere they looked, they saw rebellion. Everywhere they looked, they saw human influence, and every time they tried to crush the fire fought back harder. Humanity had become a symbol, a spark that refused to die, and with every battle, the gods looked less like gods, and more like frightened rulers losing control. The galaxy was changing, and the sovereigns knew it, but they did not know the worst part yet. The fire was growing faster than they could imagine, and soon, it would burn right through the throne of the gods. The cracks in the throne. The sovereigns had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Their word was law, their power absolute, their thrones unshakable. But now, for the first time, cracks began to appear, not in their structures, but in their control, in their fear, in their image. Every week brought another rumor of human victories, more temples destroyed, more fleets ambushed, more rebellions rising. The Sovereign Council met again inside their crystal hall, but this time the hall felt smaller, the lights dimmer, the silence heavier. The first Radiant's voice echoed across the chamber, but it no longer carried the same strength. "These humans corrupt our order," he said. "They infect the galaxy with hope." The word hope sounded like poison on his tongue. While the gods argued, humanity grew stronger. The hidden alliance expanded. More species joined, not because humans forced them, but because humans inspired them. They saw a species with no empire, no ancient power, no divine authority, yet still fighting, still surviving, still winning. Human engineers shared their simple but clever technology with their new allies. Together they built fast ships from scrap metal. They created cheap weapons that hit harder than expensive sovereign cannons. They used old machines the sovereigns had banned, machines considered dangerous, machines the gods feared. Rebel fleets attacked from every corner of the galaxy, not strong enough to crush the sovereigns, but strong enough to weaken them. Stations burned, temples fell, the golden statues of the gods shattered. The people who once knelt now stood tall. They carried human-made weapons. They carried human courage. Inside the sovereign palace, fear spread like a cold wind. The priests chanted louder, trying to assure the people that the gods were still in control. But their voices shook, their hands trembled. One night, a captured human message reached the palace. It was short, simple, and terrifying to the sovereigns. "Freedom is coming." The first Radiant ordered the message erased, but it was too late. Even his own soldiers had seen it. Even they whispered it. The sovereigns tried to strike back. They gathered a massive fleet to crush one of the largest rebel bases. But when they arrived, the base was empty. Only a single sentence was left behind on a metal wall, written in human paint: "You are late." The sovereigns raged, but their rage only showed their weakness. The galaxy no longer saw them as gods. The galaxy saw them as rulers who were losing. Then something happened that shook the council to its core. Human scouts captured a sovereign high priest during an attack on a temple ship. He was brought to a hidden human base, bruised, trembling, terrified. Humans questioned him, but he offered no answers. He only stared at them with wide, frightened eyes. Finally, just before he died, he whispered a message that shocked even the humans. "You were never meant to exist." The human commander leaned closer. "What do you mean?" he asked. But the priest did not reply. He only repeated the same strange words, weaker every time. "You were never meant to exist." When the priest died, silence filled the room. What did he mean? Who decided humanity should not exist? What secret were the sovereigns hiding? Meanwhile, The cracks in the throne widened. The sovereigns tried to repair their broken image, but the galaxy had changed. Worlds that once bowed now questioned. Species that once hid now fought. And in every rebellion, every battle, every spark of courage, the shadow of humanity stood behind them. The gods were falling, and they knew it. But the final blow was still coming. A blow that would decide the fate of the entire galaxy. When gods kneeled, the galaxy was on fire. Rebel fleets struck from every direction. Sovereign temples fell one by one. The gods who once ruled without question now struggled to hold even their own borders. And in the center of the chaos stood humanity, small in number, but unbroken in spirit. The hidden alliance had grown into a massive force. Hundreds of species united under one goal: freedom. They followed humanity not because humans were powerful, but because humans were the first to stand, the first to fight, the first to bleed. Deep inside the sovereign core world, the first Radiant prepared his final weapon. It was a being of pure energy, created long ago, a creature born from ancient technology and forbidden science. The sovereigns called it the Eternal Flame, a living storm of power, a monster designed to end wars before they even began. The first Radiant believed this creature would destroy humanity. He believed it would crush the rebellion. He believed it would restore the gods' rule. But belief was not enough. Humanity and their allies arrived at the core world with the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. The sky above the golden planet filled with thousands of ships, small, broken, repaired, rebuilt, but ready. Every pilot carried the same message inside their heart. This is the final battle. The sovereigns unleashed the Eternal Flame, a glowing titan of fire and light that tore through the void. Its power shook entire ships apart with a single wave. Its roar echoed across the battlefield like thunder. Many rebel ships fell within minutes, but humanity did not break. Human captains shouted simple orders: hold the line, focus fire, do not run. The alliance fought like a living shield, protecting one another. Species that once feared each other now fought side by side. A Ralix cruiser blocked a deadly blast meant for a human ship. A TIF squadron fired their last torpedoes to distract the Eternal Flame. The galaxy stood together for the first time in its history. Human engineers activated their final plan, a weapon not of destruction, but disruption, a device that targeted energy patterns. They had studied the Eternal Flame's movements and found its weakness. It was strong, but unstable, powerful, but fragile inside. Human ships flew dangerously close. Lasers fired, engines overheated, hulls cracked, but finally, the device activated. A huge pulse of energy spread through the battlefield. The Eternal Flame screamed as its form flickered. Its light dimmed, its power broke, and the creature crumbled into nothing. The sovereign fleet watched in horror. Their final godlike weapon was gone. Their last hope shattered. The alliance pushed forward. The remaining sovereign ships fell one after another. Soon the once mighty gods were surrounded. Their golden throne world burned in the sky above them. On the steps of the sovereign palace, the first Radiant stood alone, his armor cracked, his crown broken, his eyes filled with disbelief. Human soldiers approached him, not with hatred, but with steady purpose. You cannot win, the first Radiant whispered. You are only mortals. The human commander stepped forward, his voice calm. Maybe, he said, but mortals made gods kneel. The first Radiant dropped to his knees, not from wounds, not from pain, but from defeat. Real, final defeat. Humanity did not kill him. They did not destroy the surviving sovereigns. Instead, they freed the galaxy from them. They ended the rule of fear. They dismantled the temples and broke the chains of worship. In the following days, every species celebrated. The galaxy had changed forever. No gods, no masters, no golden thrones. At the center of it all, humanity stood quietly, not as rulers, not as conquerors, but as equals. The final message sent across the galaxy was simple. Power does not make gods, courage does. And from that day on, the galaxy remembered the truth. The gods had fallen because humanity dared to stand.